As the biggest tournament in the virtual combat world, BashBots acts as a hub for all robot combat games. Robots from every game get rebuilt in Gary's mod to compete in BashBots. We have Ryu Kishin, Siren, and Ace 5 from RA2. We have Hospice from Besiege, Kamicho from Roblox. And of course, we can't forget Huge and Rampage from the real world in BattleBots. But perhaps the king of all of them, originating from RA2, is Claymore, and they fight tonight. Hello everybody and welcome back to BashBots. I am your host, the Dominus Ignis, and alongside me is the Dan Beaver. Tonight kicks off the second half of the season, so the stakes are higher than ever as our robots look to impress the selection committee. They will be looking to make it into the playoffs come the end of the season with a chance to raise this trophy, the Giant Wrench, etching their names into the history books.
I'm sure you noticed this when you clicked on the video, but we are on season number 4 of BashBots, and it's proving itself to be the most exciting, the most destructive, the most unpredictable of all of them so far. Tonight's not looking to be any different, however. Just take a look at the fight cards we have lined up for you today. Tom, what are we looking at here?
Well, first up, we finally get to see a full fight from Amethyst. The robot has been a beast at the controls of Sploodle so far, and now Solar's vertical spinner GoldenEye has a monumental task ahead. After that, it's the first of 2 rumbles that we'll be seeing tonight, as 3 0-1 robots, Firewave, Tektronic and Kamicho, will all be looking to rebound from first round losses. It's the same story in our next fight, as Tracker, ETA and Ace 5 will all face off in the arena to go 1-1. The fourth fight will see 2 robots that were in need of some serious rebuilding after their last fight. Tranquilizer and El Montecargas will both be looking to go 2-1 on their season. The main event promises to be absolutely spectacular, as 2 of the best flippers in the business take each other on. Robo Bowler and Mars will face off against the Roboteer and Claymore in a battle of the Robos. Let's get down to our first fight.
Now that we're past halfway through the season, we are really getting down to the meat of the robots that are consistently amazing. The robots that work consistently, the ones that destroy consistently, and we've got 2 of them lined up here to kick off this episode. We're looking at Amethyst versus GoldenEye. Amethyst completely dominated their first 2 battles, scoring 2 knockouts in brutal fashion. It's like something out of a Mortal Kombat game, I swear. Also, it's been completely redesigned since we last saw it back in Season 2. It's much lower, it's much more compact, we know it works again from those last 2 fights. But the most damning evidence for Amethyst win here? If you ask any builder in this season which robot they think will take home the title, most of the time you're going to find somebody who says Amethyst takes the win.
GoldenEye has won both of its fights in judges' decisions, where Solar showed some pretty good driving ability, repeatedly getting to the sides of its opponents, which is also the strategy that they're hoping to use against Amethyst. Now, Solar's had some experience dealing with Sploodle before, so I think that is only going to aid them in their driving abilities even more. They know what's coming, so maybe, just maybe, they'll have a strategy.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? It's robot fighting time! Let's bring out the bots! In the red square! From the United Kingdom, it's only slightly more mechanically impossible than before, it's Amethyst! In the blue square, from the United States. They've been dismembered by Sploodle twice already, but maybe 3rd time's the charm. Who am I kidding? It's GoldenEye!
Well, I fought Sickle quite a few times now. Fought him with Amethyst and Amber. Worked out well both times. I'm going to employ the same strategy I used in those ones, and I'm going to win.
Alright, so this is the third time I have fought Sploodle in BashBots. First time I did, we had Amethyst in Season 1, I had the back when I had Spinny Boy. And last season where he absolutely destroyed the previous version of GoldenEye with Amber. So this is going to kind of be like a bit of a continuing, I guess, a bit of a rivalry, but I feel like this is another wedge battle, primary one, but I feel like what I mainly do is try to get around to his sides and clip that blade, because if I keep away from that wedge and just try and hit the blade, I'll toss him up, but I'll also make sure that wedge won't get underneath me and tear my wheels. That's kind of what Robot's been doing for a while now. But yeah, this, I feel like, again, will be primarily a driving match.
The first time we're seeing Amethyst this season, but that's not to say they've been doing badly. They're 2-0 in destructive form. GoldenEye, we were treated to its match against Rampage, which we all enjoyed, but now one of these will get to go 3-0.
Well, as you heard, Amethyst has shown plenty already off of the main cameras. Now, can it continue that momentum here against GoldenEye? That's a good first attack to suggest yes, it can.
Yeah, slipping underneath and backhanding it. But not as good on the second attempt. GoldenEye is going to level the scores with a hit of its own.
Yes, it is. And now Amethyst again doing its classic, just slow measured scoop underneath, followed by the slap from its spinner. Here it's now clipping away more at GoldenEye, and that's another good one that knocks it backwards.
Heavily fancied, of course, Amethyst, one of our highest seeds in seasons prior. And the wheel will be ripped away from GoldenEye. Things are only looking better for the veteran. And then every time I say it, they go straight into that big gold disc-like thing and just get swatted away.
Yes, overall here, it looks like a classic Amethyst measured performance. GoldenEye does still have that spinner working, and you never know what can happen while it is still spinning away. But the only thing spinning at the moment is GoldenEye itself, as it spirals onto the drums and gets knocked aside and away.
Actually finding its way under the wedge there, so that's an attack that could have a larger effect as the battle goes on if Amethyst's clearance is damaged in any way. We know that Amethyst relies on that wedge to deliver its spinner hits.
Oh, I was about to say GoldenEye has been still very well controlled without one of its wheels. It's now lost a second one. Obviously still has those front wheels that you can see less of. But now it's spiraling again. Oof.
Yeah, they're down to just one of them now. They can kind of keep themselves moving if they just bounce off the arena, but they're going to take more damage while it happens.
Amethyst closing in again, closing in on the wing, closing in on more damage, and GoldenEye here could feel the damage going into the future fights, because there goes another massive hit. GoldenEye is being absolutely blown to pieces. And Amethyst, well, we've waited to see it on TV in May. There you have it. What an impressive win in the end.
There goes the everything again.
No loss of form whatsoever. What a beast. GoldenEye, well, it's a good job we did get to see it fight against Rampage, because I don't suspect we'll see it again. You needed to bring an entire spare robot to get around that issue. Completely disassembled. A huge knockout win for Amethyst. Are the builders right, as they think this machine could take the quest to victory overall? Well, certainly with their third win of the season, they're well on the way.
And winning by KO and becoming our first robot to move to 3-0, Amethyst takes the win.
Well, now we head off into our second match of the evening and our first rumble of the night, as Firewave Tektronic and Kamicho all enter the BashBots. Now all of them are at 0-1. They're all in desperate need of that victory to get them back on the right path to impress the committee and get further into this competition. Firewave came so close in its fight. While it did lose in a judge's decision, it ripped the flipper off of Glacier in a rumble. With that kind of power, that could mean that robot parts are going to decorate the entire arena.
If we're talking about fire, then we can't ignore Tektronic. That flaming hammer is too good to pass up. Coming into this fight on an R1, it lost to Loki last round, which is a very aggressive, very mobile machine. However, Tektronic is up against two very different opponents here. That flaming hammer will be a big crowd pleaser and is going to be something that judges can easily look at in a fight, which is definitely going to help rack up the aggression points. As well as that, it's got a mini bot called Grammy, which has a flamethrower on the inside. I think if these two robots can drive well enough, I don't think Firewave and Kamicho can really focus on the main threat, especially with another robot there in the rumble.
Kamicho lost its judge's decision to GoldenEye in the first round after struggling with their weapon. However, it is safe to assume that at this point the weapon will probably be much better this time around. One other possible problem for them are the exposed wheels, which could be an issue against Firewave. However, Hoppin feels that they can keep them out of the way.
If you lose in this fight, you're probably down and out completely. Let's get down to the arena.
Well, this is a bit of a pace breaker for our 0-1 Rumbles. Usually they've been brand new, unsuccessful machines making appearances, but we have a bit of an interloper here with Firewave.
Oh, a very mismatched battle on paper, but nevertheless, Firewave is here and it will have to do something. And early on, its opponents certainly aren't scared of it.
We'll give some credit to Kamicho. They did go to a judge's decision against GoldenEye, and yes, that is a robot that frankly no longer exists, but we knew of its quality before that statement. Tektronic, meanwhile, was losing to Loki, another robot we haven't seen altogether. But Firewave, just thoroughly out of place after a very controversial loss to Glacier, I think it has to be said.
Yes, I mean, visually, in this particular fight so far, you've got fire from the mini-bot called Grammy, fire from Firewave, and fire from Tektronic as well. But in terms of actual attacks, we're still waiting for something truly puncturing. Nevertheless, there's something that doesn't exist anymore in there.
It just does not consider any part of this award worthy, and away goes the Grammy. Back down to no successful songs for you. The speed of the Tektronic hammer is quite admirable. It doesn't hit with a great deal of weight or physics by the looks of things, but
this is a chaotic fight at the moment. I'm not quite sure who is commanding it. Oh! Massive hit! And Kamicho has lost a tyre in all of that!
Yeah, but usually it stands to reason that in these 0-1 Rumbles, the robot who does get their first win is kind of back in the competition, and then anyone who falls to 0-2 is considered pretty much out. If Firewave were to fall down to 0-2, I wouldn't necessarily write them off. They certainly have quite a bit of good performance to speak of in their losses, and right now they're doing okay, but not enough to win outright. I would have said Kamicho was probably on top in this rumble before they lost that wheel, though they're somewhat out of options now, you would tend to believe.
I was about to address that myself. Firewave may be shocked by the fact it's in this type of environment in the first place, because it truly hasn't been all that convincing at all. Tektronic hasn't been explosive or the most damaging out there, but it's been consistent. It's kept jabbing away. And as my co-commentator said, Kamicho lost a tyre, it's lost another one now. That's it done for good, if there was any doubt at all. And now we really are down to 2 with a slap aside just to emphasise it.
It's and certainly both of those wheels getting removed will be attributed to Firewave, so that will be huge in the event of a judge's decision, which it looks like we're heading for right about now. So Kumicho is out of this, but it comes down to Firewave and Tektronic. Not a bad showing from Tektronic. I do feel bad for Kumicho, they're losing to GoldenEye and Firewave in their 2 defeats. Not the easiest draw, they certainly seemed high quality, but Firewave perhaps the highest quality of all. They'll be looking to redeem themselves after a controversial Glacier loss. Now with a win against 2 robots back-to-back, they should be thoroughly back in the competition. Or are they? Clearly, we're not quite as good at judging this machine as our actual judges are. It may well be that Firewave has dropped this one to Tektronic. I don't really see how they actively defeated Kumicho, but you never quite know.
The judges' results are in. We have a unanimous decision. And the winner is Firewave!
And winning by a judge's decision, Firewave is now 1-1. Meanwhile, Tektronic and Kumicho look to be on the cusp of losing it all as they are now 0-2. We're gonna head into our next battle.
Well done, you say battle, but we're actually looking at yet another rumble. That's right, we've got another 3 0-1 robots going into the arena for a chance to battle it out just to stay into the competition. We have Tracker, we have ETA, and we have Ace 5. Tracker. They lost their first fight to Claymore after being flipped out to the arena. The builder, George, he knows this could very well be the last chance he will get to impress the selection committee. He's prepared to do anything in this fight. He is desperate.
Now, Ace 5 lost its fight to Polis in the first round. However, even in that fight, it proved itself to have a decent wedge and had some good potential.
ETA, the builder moldy, he has said that the robot has potential to make it to the top 16, but he's going to need to up this game. So again, we have that desperation which I've seen in Tracker, which, you know, is a very good sign in my opinion. The robot was completely redesigned for this season, getting help from Wither from the Wishbone team, which is another very good sign. All of these 3 robots, they feel very evenly matched. This is anyone's game, quite honestly.
A 3-way battle between robots who had terrible draws, it has to be said. Tracker maybe with the quote-unquote easiest against Claymore. ETA losing to Atlas, Ace 5 to Polis.
And away we go in a BashBots melee, which might not be as frenetic as we are used to. Maybe more measured, more controlled, more deliberate. We'll see what happens.
Certainly, if this is to be the final fight of any of these 3 robots, and for 2 of them it likely will be, I'd probably be a little cheesed off with the draws, all things considered. They've not had any easy ones throughout this, but Tracker is certainly the most known quantity of the 3 in terms of its past successes. It was certainly doing quite well against Claymore until it got 180'd. Ace 5 meanwhile didn't do so great, but it was against Polis. I think we can forgive that one.
Yeah, it does look most in control so far, but ETA with a duo flip there on the 2. And still plenty of time for anybody to make a true name in this fight, and it's ETA again with the next attack, as Ace 5 flings itself up to try and get itself back over, and it's ETA over from the floor flipper this time, and again.
Flying the flags of both the UK and the Netherlands.
Oh!
No way!
Builder, Mouldy is from UK, but he did get help from Wither of the Wishbone team. It's certainly showing its effects with the power of the flipper, maybe representing Mygronic from beyond the grave while the Wishbone goes for the egg beater approach, but the time on top of the grinder wasn't as brilliant. There's a good attack from Ace 5, we must point out.
Yeah, and all of these machines have had their moments, some more than others, but there's still enough time here for anybody to really make a head of steam in the closing stages here, as 2 machines go flipping and flying again.
on paper, I probably would have had this one as tracker, but they've perhaps done the least, at least in the second half we've seen so far. Ace 5, in turn, is probably the one I least had on my radar, and they've got another great flip there.
Well, a minute to go, and we will see what this comes down to. It's another good flip in there from ETA as Ace 5 goes up. Ace 5 trying to respond with a rear attack on Tracker. And ETA again flicking. Oh, good response from Tracker. And it's pinning now ETA in to our camera in the corner. And could be further danger for anybody in here if they get the wrong of it.
Yes, melees are supposed to be a specialty of Tracker. I'm just adding it to the BashBots cannon on my own will now. They did win the end of season rumble in the previous season, whether you like it or not, but here they haven't quite done enough to outright win a three-way melee. They're going to need a late hitting, just as they did in that large-scale rumble, if they want to properly secure it.
And ETA is finishing this fight with 5 flips unanswered from the others. Would that be enough to take it? A couple of late jabs from 2 of them in there, but that's it, and that's a really interesting one.
Indeed, ETA perhaps the most damaged of the bunch, but with the most flips in the end. Let's review the performance. That was a double flip from them. You'd think they'd bend the flipper doing that, but they carried on as best they could. It was Ace 5, sorry, that put them onto the grinder in the first place. So that was perhaps the most damaging attack from any one competitor. Ace 5, it didn't get thrown around quite as much as you'd expect, but when it did, it went soaring. This was close.
The judges' results are in. The winner by unanimous decision is ETA!
And winning the judges' decision, ETA is back in the competition on a 1-1 record. Meanwhile, Tracker and Ace 5 will hold on to anything they can to just claw their way back into the main competition, but it's gonna take a miracle.
Next up, we have Tranquilizer versus El Montecargas. Both robots are at 1-1, but both are looking to head in a positive direction by adding an additional win to said record. El Montecargas got absolutely demolished by Amethyst in its second fight. However, Hobo Drew has worked as hard as they possibly can, and they believe that the robot is once again at 100%.
I think I'm gonna have to go for Tranquilizer this fight. We saw how well it performs when it fought against Warbos in their first fight. I don't think we can ignore what happened in the second fight, that massive weapon failure. However, I can reveal to you that we do actually know what happened. Bruce expected their robot after the fight, as, you know, any good rocketeer should do, and it turned out that it wasn't actually gumdrops that made the weapon come off. What actually happened is that the weapon simply wasn't secured properly for the fight, so it just attached. What this says to me is that Tranquilizer is still the machine we all thought it was. El Montecargas may be able to take the hits, but I don't think it can do anything back to really take the fight.
Let's head on down to the arena to watch this incredible encounter.
Bruce has a 0% win rate against forklifts.
This is factual.
So, statistically, I have a 100% chance of winning.
I'd say it's somewhere between 0 and 0%. I rounded it off a little bit.
You ran it down from like 100%.
Yeah, nothing I can do to match that introduction, so here we go. Tranquilizer in with an immediate jab there on our L machines, shall we call it. Will it get back over? Maybe with the help of Tranquilizer. Interesting.
Another bit of an unmatched intro from Tranquilizer itself, until rebounded into the wall. That was a good little measured thing from our Spanish forklift over here. Is it actually a Spanish robot? I suspect probably not, but it will be representing as best it can. I'm headcanoning it as coming from the Garcian province of Pontevedra. There you go.
I'm not going to argue with you on that one. You've got all the inside knowledge I need on El Montecargas for sure. Tranquilizer, funnily enough there, I tried to ignore it, but it was in trouble for a couple of seconds there as the forklift casually tipped it over. Now it's going to fall over again.
A Tranquilizer, they've already lost one fight in quite surprising fashion. We're certainly not counting on them doing it again. Montacargas, by the way, is Spanish for lift truck. So, I think it quite literally means.
Can we just end the episode
forklift.
now on that note? That's like as literal as I need. I can't say anything else now. I mean, if Tranquilizer goes on to lose this will be one of the most incredible moments in history ever.
Oh, there goes a wheel from El Montacargas. I wouldn't want to be driving a forklift with a wheel missing, it must be said. Getting stuck in on the wall here. We need to see them break free if they can.
It's a very jammed up situation in there.
Excuse me?
I
the
think my
stream
stream
egg
egg has gone into the booth.
No. Get that shit out, dude. It's stabbed through the legs and it's gonna stab me in the leg.
Crack open the Duolingo app for a while, learn a bit more Spanish while we're at it, because I don't see them breaking free of their own accord. Yes, we are going to have to halt the fight and break it free.
And Spanish for restart. Here we go again. What can Tranquilizer...
Restarto,
Restarto, right? Yes, of course it is. Tranquilizer will be trying to make sure nothing restarts in the El Montacargas spirits here. And, whoa, maybe it will help it get a comeback of grand proportions here. Because it's El Montacargas with a, not necessarily punishing, but a forward drive nevertheless.
It is! It is restarting the offense, or to use the actual Spanish word, reiniciar. So there you go, you're learning a lot from this battle. Tranquilizer, it's looking set to get its second win of the season, but not in thoroughly impressive form. Their seeding may have to drop quite a lot if they do advance to the bracket, or maybe the lift truck will just do the unthinkable and give Galicia its first ever combat win.
I mean, since the restart,
apart from the vertically unchallenged
we
one,
have a minute or so of action. And honestly, Tranquilizer's not done all that much. It's probably done enough nevertheless.
It's knocking itself over.
It's a curious
It's
end to this
without the
fight
wheel.
anyway. Wow.
Alright, so I must find out where El Montacargas is actually from, because if they are the ones to knock Tranquilizer down to a losing record and potentially put it out of BashBots Season 4, that would be unprecedented. But what can you say to Tranquilizer's benefit? It's certainly got that combo little streak, and it did mount El Montacargas into the wall.
The judges' results are in. We have a unanimous decision. And the winner is... Tranquilizer!
Winning by judges' decision, Tranquilizer has won. What a match, Beaver.
Yeah, that was an incredible match. And El Montacargas finishing 1 and 2. There's only one question on my mind right now. Dom, do you think it has any chance, even with that rather lacking record?
I think with that 1 and 2 record and that fight against Tranquilizer, I gotta say their chances are not looking good. I think this is the end. Before we move on to the main event, let's take a look at who else has secured a victory. First up, the Season 2 champion was matched up against Badnik and his robot Shock Factor. They proved more of a nuisance than Polis would have hoped, getting several good rams across the arena. Unfortunately for them, it wasn't enough to stop Polis from launching them out of the arena.
After that, it was a rumble between Calcifer, Spinning Mayhem and Hospice. It wasn't long before the Shell Spinner was flipped over, and in the ensuing 1v1, Marrow and his robot dominated Hospice, taking the judge's decision.
The third fight saw Tankoff, Devastation and Avalanche face off. The two Chinese builders planned to team up on Tankoff, but in the heat of the battle the alliance never materialized. When Tankoff was flipped over and once again couldn't self-right, Devastation did enough in the final portion of the fight to take the decision.
It was another rumble after that, as Liberator, Huge and Cyberstorm all looked to bounce back from their round 1 losses. Liberator dealt damage to both of Huge's wheels, but it was Jonathan Schultz who got the last laugh as Liberator flew out of the arena. In the one-on-one that followed, Cyberstorm's armor was no match for the vertical bar, and Huge took the judge's decision.
Finally, it was a rumble between Slapshot, Starfire, and Twinzer. It was Slapshot that dominated most of the fight, and they took the decision. Unknown to Sky until after the fight, his robot Twinzer sustained massive internal damage at the back of the robot during the fight. It was too much to repair in time for his next bout, so Twinzer was forced to pull out of the competition. Now, let's get back to the fighting for our main event.
Ah, flippers. We all love them, whatever kind of person we are. In fact, I'm sure you will love the flipper segment that I did last year, in which I talked about all of those special different kinds of flippers, and we've matched up two of them here today for your main event. The Roboteer versus Robo Boulder. It's Mars versus Claymore, everybody. Dom, who do you think wins this one?
Honestly, I gotta go back to my roots of Robot Arena 2, where I have seen Claymore be successful there as well. Saying that, they've been even more so here in BashBots in my opinion, winning both of their fights so far by out of the arena this season, showing incredible driving ability from the Roboteer. With the fact that this is such an important match, with the victory almost ensuring a spot in the top 16, I think the Roboteer has what it takes in this to go the distance, even against the likes of Mars, and take this victory.
Well, Dom, you might have your roots in RA2, but I have mine in BashBots, and I've seen this show grow, and I've seen Mars rise to massive prominence in the last season or so. Mars is on an 8-fight win streak, which is almost record-breaking. In fact, it's equal to the current record. If Mars can win this fight, it will be the most consistent robot in the entire show. That is an incredible undertaking, and I think by this point we are all certain that Mars is good enough to do just that. This fight is going to be high-flying mayhem. I can't wait to see it. I think this is going to be amazing, but I also think that Mars stands the best chance of winning.
We're not going to waste any more time. Let's head on down to the arena for this main event.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event. In the red square, from the UK, its builder clearly asked, what if I gave a door wedge life when designing it? It's Claymore! In the blue square, from the United Kingdom, its Chuckster sponsorship is riding on this fight, introducing Mars!
So, my previous two fights went pretty well, and look where we are now. We're fighting the reigning champion. I'll be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, but I'll give it a good go. I think I can have a shot if I keep the stakes on a minimum. I made a couple in the last few fights, but hopefully if I just stay calm and try and exploit gaps in his ground clearance, then I should have a shot. I'm going to try and control him for the whole fight if I can, not give him a chance to recover. That's assuming I get an opening to begin with though. He's a good driver, he's a good robot, it's going to be a tough fight no matter what happens, so just give it my best shot and hope things go for the best.
This is going to be another standard flipper fight, probably the toughest flipper fight that I'm going to have, I would say. We were very closely seeded in the last tournament. I would say I have a slight advantage being a rear hinge flipper over his front hinge, but I'm very worried about fighting it. The oversteers I did in the other couple of fights, if I do those here, then that could be out, and that's not good. So it's just going to be a match of control. While the reigning champion Mars is undefeated so far, they'll be looking for a clean 3-0 record, but Claymore is perhaps the toughest opponent they've had yet. They've been doing superbly so far.
Well, Polis has always been the undisputed king of the flipper. in BashBots, but machines like these two, high quality, and they'll want to put on a display of grand proportions here.
Indeed, Polis has the record for biggest winning streak in BashBots as well, but Mars is looking to take that away from it. 8 consecutive wins, this would be its 9th, which would level it with Polis. But Claymore is perhaps one of the most devious opponents it's yet to face. Mars so good at tanking horizontal spinners and then getting enough flips to win, but against other fellow flippers, less tested.
My God, that was close to the streak ending there and then. Claymore is just so unassuming, and then it comes in with attacks like that. Mars survives, but only just.
Now, they didn't choose to fire the flipper there, they wanted more of a run-up to get some power behind the flip. Mars did get away in that time, but I'm never one to doubt the driving of the Claymore and the Roboteer behind it. So many Utas, and with a front hinge flipper, that's remarkably difficult to achieve. A great recovery as well. I must say Mars is on top right now, the more conventional design helping it out. But Claymore is a master of last-second knockouts that you can never see coming. I'm never going to call this one until it's thoroughly over.
And it might be there again!
Oh, that's me done, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just been slotted in! And Mars continued that incredible combo of flips with the knockout as its yes! Wow!
Oh my gosh, I was f***ing myself. Mars moving up to 9 straight wins. They will be in the top 16 and probably as the number 1 seed. Our undefeated champion carrying on without a single notch in its belt. They were flipped a couple of times by Claymore. It was competitive, but if anyone were to be a higher seed than Mars in the top 16, then I'll just call it as wrong in advance, shall I? Amethyst perhaps the most likely to take that as of the machines we've seen so far, but this was clinical. And the knockout blow, slotting the very, very thin Claymore in behind the wall, and when you're that far down, not even the front hinge flipper can push it back out. Great stuff from Mars. We'll be seeing them again very, very soon.
And moving to 3-0, Mars has gotten 9 straight wins, breaking a record. Claymore, meanwhile, drops to 2-1, although it's a very strong 2-1. I think we'll be seeing both of these robots in the top 16, and who knows, maybe they'll clash again.
I think we've just witnessed another masterclass in driving from Mars. They're now 3-0 on their season, undoubtedly a contender for the number 1 seed. Beaver, what do you think of this performance?
For sure, they're the champion for a reason, and they just proved why tonight. Yes, they didn't have the wedge, but Robo Boulder stayed calm and collected on the controls, and he took full advantage of the opportunities he was given. If you ask me though, I think Amethyst is another contender for that number 1 seed. They're sitting pretty now at 3-0 on their season with 3 brutal knockouts.
No question about it. They took a break from Amethyst last season, but their return so far has been triumphant. Definitely one of the favourites to take the giant wrench. Of course, wins for Firewave, ETA and Tranquilizer sets all their seasons back into motion as well. It's not the end yet for the other robot, but it is the end for the show tonight. From all of us here at BashBots, we thank you for watching and we hope to see you next time. Until then, good night. So Beaver, after all of that, what do you feel we learnt today?
Well, I think we've learned one very important thing. Something that's so important we can tell it to our children, our grandchildren. Something to pass down for generations. Something that would endure the entire universe, all of time, something that remains universal, something that I think is paramount to understanding our very existence here on BashBots.
Yes? Oh, okay, go on, tell me what it is. Like, if it's something this special, I really need to know. I think the viewers need to hear this as well.
Big spinner, go boom.
Right.